Why are you not a Jehovah's Witness?
Before I answer that, I want to dabble into the Watchtower's history first. The Watchtower organization was started by Charles Taze Russell in the 1870s. The Jehovah's Witnesses were incidentally called that name in 1931 to differentiate between Judge Rutherford, Russell's successor, and those who still follow Russell's teaching as represented by the Dawn Bible students and Layman's Home Missionary Movement. Charles Taze Russell was born February 16, 1852. He spent his earlier years in Pittsburgh and Allegheny, Pennsylvania. He was known to be the manager of several furnishing stores. Charles rejected eternal torment. At 18, Russell organized the Bible study class in Pittsburgh, and 7 years later, he was elected as pastor. From 1876 to 78, he was an assistant editor of a Rochester monthly magazine. He eventually resigned over a theological disagreement. In 1879, Russell founded the Herald of the Morning, which soon became known as the Watchtower, announcing Jehovah's Kingdom. This movement exploded in the printing industry, with millions upon millions of Watchtower literary distributions and into over 100 languages. In 1886, Russell published the first of a 7-book series called Studies in the Scriptures, though originally published as The Millennial Dawn. The seventh book, The Finished Mystery, caused the organization to split, creating a clean division. Judge Rutherford's group was the larger following, whilst the smaller remained as it was, known as the Dawn Bible Students Association. Through the leadership of Rutherford, the organization became known as Jehovah's Witnesses, and its corporate name, the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society. In 1908, the HQ of the Watchtower moved to Brooklyn, New York. It was known as the Brooklyn Tabernacle. Russell continued to teach until October 31st, 1916, when he passed away on a transcontinental train in Texas. In his life, Russell married to Maria Ackley in Pittsburgh. She helped him run the Watchtower. In 1897, Maria left Russell and 6 years later sued for separation. She was also co-administrator of the Watchtower at the time. In 1908, Russell had to pay alimony of $6,036. It turned out Russell had several subsidiary societies, and all the wealth he gained flowed through into his societies under the control of his holding company. He held 990 of the $1,000 capital, whilst two of his followers had the other 10. According to the Eagle column, Russell sold miracle wheat, said to grow 5 times faster than normal wheat. Cartoon depictions were drawn by the Eagle column. This resulted in Russell suing for libel, asking for $100,000 in damages. Government agents were brought in to test the miracle wheat. It turned out it was regular, hence the Eagle won the suit. Even before the court trial, the Eagle claimed Russell's organization was a money-making scheme. When the pastor went on a world tour to preach, he never actually went to those places to say he preached sermons. One such example is Hawaii, Honolulu. When his ship stopped to pick up coal for a few hours, Russell never preached. There was no big crowd, despite his paper distribution reading, and I quote, Honolulu, Hawaiian Islands, the International Bible Students Committee of Foreign Mission Investigation, stopped at Honolulu and made observations. Pastor Russell, chairman of the committee, delivered a public address. He had a large audience and attentive hearings, unquote. The Brooklyn Eagle wrote to the editor of the Hawaiian Star, Walter G. Smith. He said that whilst Russell did show up, he never preached. A similar thing occurred in Japan. He never preached again. It was a marketing scheme. More than that, Pastor Russell got into a legal battle with Reverend J.J. Ross, pastor of the James Street Baptist Church of Hamilton, Ontario. Ross wrote a pamphlet exposing Russell and his life. To summarize how the court case went, it turned out after Russell sued Ross, during Russell's cross-examination, attorney Staunton asked if Russell knew the Greek alphabet. He said yes. He was then tested to tell the correct letters of a particular book. He could not do it. He even admitted he was not familiar with Greek, thereby admitting he was a perjurer, since he claimed to be skilled in the ancient languages like Greek and Hebrew. Attorney Staunton further asked if Russell was ever an ordained minister. He replied no. A step further, Staunton asked if he was ever ordained by a bishop, clergyman, presbytery, counselor, anybody of men living. Russell replied he never was. Russell denies the Trinity, the divinity of Christ, the bodily resurrection of Christ, the physical return of Jesus, eternal punishment, hell, the atonement of Christ, and the eternal existence of the soul, as well as others. The Brooklyn Daily Eagle states, Pastor Russell was never ordained, that he was a self-styled pastor. Stay tuned for part 2.